All right. So why do we need constructor? Or what is constructor? Why do we need constructor? Anyone? Any idea? Is my voice audible?
Yes.
Okay. So so constructors are used to initialize the instance variable dynamically. All right. Okay. So what is a constructor, right? So this A. Let's go to this. All right. So default constructor, right? Inside the class. Okay. 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 So constructor, the first thing is constructor is used to initialize the instance variable dynamically. Cool. So let's go through it first, right? What are instance variable? We have covered already, right? So if I write private and int age, right? So it would be a private instance variable, right? This is an instance variable, isn't it? So what I have said, first thing, how a constructor is written, right? The first thing is constructor name should be same as the class name, right? So it would be A, and then like we open the parenthesis, we have to open the parenthesis and then the curly braces, right? Okay, cool. So another thing, why do we require this parenthesis, right? Because we need to initialize the instance variable, right? So to initialize the instance variable, we require some values, right? So that's why curly braces. So over here I can add values, right? Int age. So this is why we require the curly braces. First thing. Another thing, in methods we have seen like public, void, then m1, right? So let's compare with the method, right? So constructor has a name, but it's not that you have the liberty to choose the name. You will need to use the same name as of the class name, right? So it will be A only. First thing. Another thing is it don't have the return type. This is the return type, right, in methods. So a constructor will never have a return type. Cool. Another thing, can we have the access modifier with it? Exactly, we can have the access modifier with it, right? Public, private, right? We can have the access modifier. All right. Given said that, now, so when will it be called, right? We can call methods, right? We can call methods by the instance variable. Can we call a constructor? The answer is no. The constructor will be called only during the object creation, and it will not be called again and again. The only thing in Java which we can call multiple times is method. That's why it's the only thing that we can use for the business logic. Cool. So what's the use of it, right? So let's suppose a runner, we usually write in code in this way, right? A runner. Great. So over here a equals to new A, right? So this one is constructor, this one is constructor, and we have written integer 8, that's why it's the issue. Cool. So there are few things that we need to know. Cool. So this is a constructor, right? With the new keyword we are using A. So this A is the constructor, right? And what over here, this is called default constructor. Why default constructor? Because there is no param, right? One arc param or zero arc param constructor also you can say, right? So one arc one arc constructor, one arc parameter constructor, one arc constructor will be if I have A, right? Int A. See, this is overloaded, right?
Yes.
So similarly that we have seen with the methods, we can do the overloading over here as well, right? Int A and then int B, multiple, right? I can I can reverse I can do different parameters also I can choose, right? So the overloading part that we have seen, the entire concept will be same for the constructor as well. All right. So we know that the constructor will be called only once, that too during the creation of an object. Cool. So one thing we would like to know that can we call a constructor without the use of new keyword, right? Or we can see we require new keyword, right? Can we use only a somewhere, right? Directly a, right? It would make no sense. We will go in the later sessions why what new does and why we can use only in this way, right? So constructor will be called with new only, right? One thing. Because in short, new provides the memory, right? How it provides memory, what happens, everything we'll discuss in the later sessions. So cool. Now we know that okay, constructor will be called when we will call this thing, right? A constructor. Cool. So nothing new, right? I will just call this thing a equals to new a. We were doing it already for many times. So this is the thing that we have done, right? Now my question, what sorry, now what I want to ask is, if I don't write this thing, right? If I remove this, now there will be an error or there will not be an error. If I remove this constructor, will there be an error or no error? All right, the answer is, even if I don't write any constructor, the Java will provide the default constructor, right? If I try to run this, still it will be called, right? But it will be default, it will be empty. So it will be similar to this thing, whether I write it or not write it, Java will provide the default constructor. Cool. One thing. And default constructor is zero arg constructor, no argument, right? So no argument means it will not initialize any value, right? So again, and I mean, you can say, right, that you are, I mean, why we agree with you, right? Can you show that really does it create or it not, right? So one way to say it is that we can just execute this thing, right? Because if there is no constructor, then there should be an error, right? Another thing that we can do is simply one thing, we can reload the project and then try to run it, right? So now we already know that the dot class file is created, right? So in the classes section, class element section, and not variable. Okay, why it's instead of variable nothing else is there? Okay, class elements target is not updated. Okay, this is not nice. Okay, wait, let me reload the project. Okay, yeah, cool. Now we have all this thing, right? So in constructors, in the in this, right, in a class, if we go inside the a class, right, we don't have any constructor, right? So if we go inside the constructor a, this is a dot class file, right? Dot class file bytecode. You see over here constructor, right? Same package, batch, class element, constructor, basic, and a class, right? And you can check the same batch, class element, constructor, basic, a dot java does not have a constructor, while a dot class is having a constructor, right? Visible?
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. So if you don't provide any constructor, then Java will provide a default constructor by its own. Cool. That's how thing works. All right, great. So now, cool. So we have already seen this example, right? We have already seen this example. Okay, default constructor. Cool. And just paste these two classes, right? Yeah, I want both of them. Thank you. Cool. So the same class we have, right? So default constructor will be provided by Java, right? So let me it's the same, even though the entire code is same. I just copy pasted it, but yet let me just run the code again for you, right, from here. All right, so it will work, right? Nothing to be printed because a has an empty implementation, because a is a default constructor, right? So cool. So what if, okay, so what if, let me just now, okay, let me just comment the code, right? And let me add a constructor, right? So Okay, my bad. Okay, no, yeah, public. Instead of public, let's just write a, and okay, public. Let's take the public a, and this is the constructor, right? Default constructor. Let's take int a. Okay, and this dot age, we will see what is this keyword is, and a. Cool. Okay, let's remove this, right? Age, we'll see this keyword later on. This age, this is the instance variable, right? An instance variable, this variable has a visibility in this area, right? So I can directly map this a with this value, right? So this is how we initialize the instance variable using a constructor. Cool. So otherwise what it happened that it will have some default value, right? This, the default value of age integer is
0.
yes, default value is 0. Way to see 0 0 0 0 for integers, 0 dot 0 0 dot 0 for float, false for boolean, right? Where do you see? So int age a. Cool. So this is how I'm initializing the instance variable. Now if if I try to run the code, what will happen? Runtime error, compile time error, or the same way in which the code has executed, or exception of memory. What will be the output of this? This is a class, this is the runner, and this is a class. All right, just 10 seconds.
It will run exactly the same as it has run now, no errors.
Okay, everyone agrees? All right, the answer is the code will not compile and there will be an error, right? The thing is, Java provides a default constructor only and only if there is no constructor available. Cool. And so right now, if there is no constructor available, then if you try to call the constructor, there is only one constructor, and that constructor requires a mandatory value of integer, right? So if you, the Java provides default constructor, but the condition is that there should be no other constructor in the class, then only Java will provide the default constructor, because without constructor you cannot create an object. Cool. Understood? So oh my bad. All right, let me run it again. Okay, so I'll just copy paste it, the error over here. Cool. Otherwise it will not let other code run, right? This is the error that you are going to face, J. Cool. All right, so one thing clear, right? Next thing is, okay, next thing is we have to take care of special keywords in Java. So there are two special keywords in Java that we are going to see. So special keywords, right? One would be, okay, my bad, this keyword, and another one would be super keyword, right? Oh, my bad. So today we are going to see the only one, this keyword, right? Not the super keyword. Super keyword we will see after we are done with inheritance. All right, so in this keyword we are going to see, okay, what's happening. Okay, cool. So there would be basic, there would be interview. Cool. So this keyword, so what does it mean by this keyword, right? So class. All right, so this keyword points, now this keyword has a lot of things, right? So this keyword points, refers can be used to refer an object. Cool. This keyword can be confusing, right? And this, it's not, it's all small case, right? can be used can be used as self-reference of an object. Okay, one thing. Another thing, this can be used to point the instance area. Cool. And the third is, okay, the rest we can see example by example. All right, so what does it mean that this can be confusing, right? Let me tell you one thing, this can be confusing, but if you see in the initial part, you will need the practice to let good understanding of this keyword. So let's see how it points to the instance area, right? So one thing is, okay, basics, and in the basics let's try to cover it only. Cool. So instead of taking basic A, let's take some class, and that will make sense, right? Let's take a student. Cool. A student will have a name, right? Okay, student will have a name, private string name, right? So what do I want? I want, okay, runner, I want the eligibility. Okay, so what's the definition of the constructor? That it initializes the instance variable dynamically, right? What does it mean? No one asked, right? So it means, right, the student is an object, right, and this is a variable. If I write this Ashok, right, then what will happen? I have hard coded the value, right? Every time it will be Ashok only. I have initialized the value, but in a hard coded way. Every time it will be Ashok only, right? No matter how many objects I try, I have no flexibility to change the name, right? But with the constructor, constructor name should be the same of the class name, and then I can say this string A, or for n just for name, and then name equals to n, right? One more thing that I'm going to tell you today, right, is what's, okay, you are all are aware of object class?
No, Abhishek, no.
Okay, cool, no worries. So the one thing, I mean, we are going to cover this in the later sessions. But the thing is, okay, let's leave the object class. Okay, so we will cover that in the oops. But the thing is, is everyone aware of toString method? Why it's used, how it's used? All right, any confirmation whether some of the students are aware of this keyword, oh sorry, toString, or not? All right, then I'll take it as a no, right? So see, toString is a method that gets executed if I try to print the reference variable of an object, right? For example, let me show you one more thing. All right, so this is a student object, right? And and the name I'm passing, right? The n I'm passing, and it will be set as the name. So if I try, okay, Ashok over here, and I try to print it, right? Let's say the student object. This is the reference variable, right? So reference variable does not hold the value, right? It will hold the value. It will be holding just the numeric digits, right? It would be inside, it would be just the address of the RAM where the memory is stored. For this, it will be heap memory, right? Logical name. So if I try to execute it, what will happen? This. Anyone aware of this thing?
Yes.
What is this? I've tried to print the student object and I've got this thing, right? What is this? All right, cool, no worries, let me tell you. See, okay, what is the, if we try, oh, my bad. see if okay, all right. So see, if we try to say it, what is this? Till here it's the package name, right? Till basic org batch special keyword this basic, right? So this is the package name, right? And then what is this? Student, right? What is the student? Student is here, and org dot special dot this till here package name dot class name, right? So this is the package name, this is the class name, and then at the rate, and then some value, right? Isn't it? I'm audible?
Okay.
Okay, cool. So we will see, let's go inside the object class. This is object class, right? We are inside the object class, right? Visible public class object. Object class has these methods. We are going to go through each one of them, right? Finalize is obsolete after 9, but we are going to cover this as well, right? No one is going to use it, but we have to use it later on. So we'll cover all these methods, right? It's way too important. Everyone needs to know it. So one of these methods is toString, right? Visible? And in this toString you can see dot get class dot class name, right? So this is the class name, right, of the reference variable student, right? Then add the rate. Visible? Add the rate, right? And then there is some string, hexadecimal string. We have discussed about the hexadecimal, right? 2 hex string. Visible? We have seen in the first section, first class, right, or the second class, I'm not aware right now whether it will be first or not. Hexadecimal is 0 to 9 A B C D E, right?
Yeah.
All right, 16 digits. So this is how it got covered. Cool. So this is what we get, right? Integer also, and the alphabets also, right? So this is from here it has come, right? we can even just copy paste it and do it for our own as well. Just remove this thing and just copy in our runner, and this thing we can say that okay, we can do student dot get class and this and this, but the hash code is not there, so we need to say the student dot hash code, but it will still give us error, and we don't want this thing to be taken care of. And then if I try to run this, one has been called, because whenever we try to print the reference variable of an object, then it calls the object class toString method, right? And this is how, and this one, for the first one we have created by line number 7, and second one has been created by line number 8 when the student object toString is called on the sys.out.println. Cool. So now I know that one thing. Okay, so you can skip these things for now, right? So that means the toString method is called, right, whenever I try to print the variable name. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to override the method. So I will implement the toString, right? Now what will happen? Instead of, because due to the overriding principle, the toString method of the student class will be called, right? We are going to see the overriding in the later sessions. So now if I try to run this, okay, nothing has happened. Okay, why nothing has happened? Because I am not printing the reference variable, right? If I run this again, now you will see the name is Ashok, right? If I create another variable and say Dikshita, is your spelling correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so let's call her Dikshita and let's call him Ashok, right? So Ashok is here and Dikshita is here, right? Now if I try to run it, you will see two names, right? So dynamically I can change the variable. I can initialize the instance variable dynamically. So that's the use case of constructors, right? So this is the very basic thing. Now, but we are not in the constructor, right? We are having the session of, okay, and this, okay, but I find this example better. So we can replace our example of constructor. In the basic we are using A, right? All right, I'm finding this example better, right? Okay, so let's make it perfect, right? Later, then we can replace it in the later part. So now, why to use this keyword, right? So now you know that, oh, all right, if this thing happens, right, so the output will be Ashok and Dikshita, right? Okay, so we have Vinod over here, right? We don't have Ashok. So Vinod, right? So let's print Vinod. Cool. So if I run it, Ashok and Vinod and Dikshita will be printed, right? So let me just change one thing in the code. So this thing, this reference variable, right, I can name it as name as well, right? So name. So the name that I will pass, right, over here, Vinod, will be set to this name, right? I'm just asking right now. Now if I try to run this, what will be the output of this code? Over here you have already seen, right? And over here, this is the other code that will run, right? Now you need to tell me what would be the output. All right, only 5 seconds. All right, cool. No one tried to answer. The output will be blank. The name would be null. Okay, why null? Let me tell you why null also, right? So the default values is provided for primitive data types only. So the class, this is a class, right? For objects, no default value is provided. Cool. So that's why the name has no default value. I mean, it has a default value, but the default value is null. So you can call it default value, or if not, nothing else, then also it will be null only, right? So that's why we get the null. But we have passed the value, right? Why the value is not updated? Earlier it was updating, right? When I just changed this variable name to n, right? Okay, let's change this name, right? And if I try to run this, now it will be printed properly. But the thing is, if I try to make it a name as well, and now okay, and now if I try to run it, the answer will be null. All right, the reason is, if we try to see the student object and we go with the Vinod name, we go inside this class, right? This string name that has been passed will have the Vinod, right, name. So what is happening over here? This name, which variable is this?
The instance variable.
This would be the local variable, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, inside, yeah.
Yeah, this is the instance variable, right?
Yeah.
So this is the instance variable, and this would be the local variable. Now the thing is, what I am doing over here, what this line is doing is, it's doing the name equals to name only. So it's assigning the local variable to the local variable itself. No one is even touching the instance variable, right? It's like I declare a variable int a equals to 10, and I'm saying okay, and I'm saying a equals to a. This is what is happening, a equals to a. So name, I'm using name, and then name equals to name. That's what it's happening, right? Isn't it? So how can I differentiate between the local variable and the instance variable? All right, do we have something that can point me to the instance area so that I can access the instance variable when I have a local variable with the same name? Do I have something? Exactly, I have this keyword. What does this keyword will do? This keyword, instead of pointing it to the local, it will point it to the instance area, right? It will take it out from this local area. I mean, this is also instance area, but over here it will go inside it, outside the method. It will go outside the method in the instance area, and then it will try to find the variable with the name, and it will find the variable with the name, right? And then now if I try to run it, now the values are Vinod and Dikshita, right? So you will find every time the code in the production written in this way, because it does not make sense if you have a name and you'll use some other reference variable, right, for this, right, like this, and then use it. It does not make sense, right? You need to have the same name only, same reference variable name, right, throughout, so that there would be no confusion that okay, this name will be mapped to this name, right? So this is the one use case of this. Another use case of this we will see in the later part, that if I want to pass the object, then I can okay, This is the one use case of this. All right, get it?
Yes.
Abhishek, could you repeat
All right,
the,
all right, great.
I mean, what are the disadvantages of not using this keyword? Like, I couldn't get the reference that you were taking.
Okay, cool.
Like,
See,
which name keyword is refer to which one, like
all
that.
right. So if I remove this keyword, right, what will happen? The output, if you try to see, then the output will be null, right, for these two values.
Yeah.
So I'm in. What's the rec- uh, I mean, why do we use the constructors? Is it is used to initialize the instance variable, right? One thing.
Yes.
So I want to initialize the instance variable, right, with constructor. So I get this name, right? This name will be Dikshita, right, in one of our cases.
Yeah.
So the Dikshita will be here, and the local Dikshita will be assigned as a local variable, right?
Yeah.
And Dikshita name I'm assigning to the local variable, and I'm again assigning it to the local variable only.
Okay,
So
so this
I'm
is not the instance variable again. It is only the local variable.
yes, because the thing is, whenever you try to find, like, the name is same, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's remove the name from here, right? Let's take an example of public void m1 method, right? So there is, okay, so again, this is not specific to Java, right? This is coding things. So if
Yeah.
you have something in your local memory, right, and you have some variable, right, like a string name only, name equals to, and let's take Dikshita only, Dikshita, right?
Yeah.
And okay, cool. So if I try to print out the name, which variable it will print? It has the low instance variable, the same instance variable also with the same name, and this is local variable also with the same name.
Huh.
Which value it will print?
Local variable.
Yes,
Local.
local value it will print, right? If I try to call m1, then it will print the Dikshita, right?
Yeah.
Because if the variable is found inside the local area or the stack memory, right, it will be in the stack memory, right? If
Yeah.
the variable is found in the stack memory, it will not go to find the value in the heap memory, right? This thing will be in the heap.
Yeah.
So if we find the data in the local area or inside the method, we are not going to try to find it into the instance area, right? So that's
Yeah.
how the thing works, and the variable proximity matters. So over here, if you try to see, so the name, okay, in this case, let's suppose I want the name to be printed as Shobha, right? Shobha, cool. So okay, from the runner, let's say, okay, okay, student, right? We have, okay, let's create another student as well. Student s student equals to new student, right? And student, my bad. So student dot m1, right? And let's change the name. Okay, m1 is cool, right? No worries. So okay, and random, cool, because the value will not be initialized, right? Okay, yes, it won't be initialized. So if I try to run this, then you will see the Dikshita over here, right? Okay, why Shubha? Okay, I have hard coded the values, right? Let me just remove this. If I try to run this, what will be the output? Dikshita, right? Because inside my m1 method, Dikshita is the local variable, right, with the name.
Yeah.
Let's say I don't want this Dikshita to be printed. I want the name Shobha to be printed, right? I cannot do it, right, without the this keyword. So if I use the this keyword, instead of finding this, what's the natural course of flow while finding a variable? The natural course of flow inside a method would be to find it into the local area. If not visible, then go to the instance area, right? But
Okay, so if you
if,
remove string name is equal to Dikshita, will it print Shobha?
okay, obviously,
Yeah. Okay.
okay, let's just run this, Shobha,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Because its visibility area is in this, right?
Yeah.
So at line number 14, there will be two variables, right, with the visibility, same variable name and the visibility, right? So which one it will choose? The one which within the closest proximity, right? And the closest proximity, don't take that, okay, if I name, if a method is here, right? So method, and then it will take it from here, right? It's
Yeah.
not like this. Proximity means in the area, in which area it is, right? Because in the same area, it is the local memory, right? In the same stack, you cannot have two variables with the same name, right?
Yeah.
In different areas, you can have it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would mean, if I'm saying that different areas, then can I have the static variable also with the same name? The answer will be no. If I try to make it static, will it work? Right? No.
Okay.
Because the visibility area will be this, right? If one thing
Okay.
is not interfering with another thing's visibility area, then it's completely fine. So right now you can just understand one thing, that the local variable and the instance variable in the instance area. But the thing is, if I make it private, right? If I make it private, then it's completely cool, right? Because these are in two different areas, right? And also the method does not care, right? I can have the same name in the different method as well, right?
Okay.
Because method visibility will end it over here, right? I just need to make it M2. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, so let's go back in our previous case. So alright, so right now if I try to run it, the Dikshita will be printed, right? But I want to access the instance area. So what I
Yeah.
can do, I can just directly use this. So this will ignore accessing the natural course of flow, which will be try to find the value in the closest proximity. That would be Dikshita, right? So
Yeah.
it will ignore this thing, and because I have added this, right? So I'm saying that okay, I want this name, but don't try to find it in different area. Just directly go to the instance area. And now if I try to run it, it will take the Shobha. Cool.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Another thing would be, okay, so cool. So let's remove this now. All right. So what? Okay. This now what's happening over here? Cause the local variable, right? This is the local variable, right? So I'm taking name. So the closest proximity of the name is this name, right? Local variable.
Yeah.
So the same name. So I'm assigning Dikshita to Dikshita only. In the local variable value I'm assigning only, right? I'm not doing anything else. But
Yeah.
if I want this value which hold the value of Dikshita, I want to set it to the this value, right? Okay, we have to remove this as well. So what I need to do, I need to say that okay, this is the local variable that needs to be set with this, right? That's
Okay.
why now this local variable has a name Dikshita, and I'm trying to map it with the instance variable of this class, right? That's why if I try to run this, okay, M1 method does not exist now. All right, no worries, we don't even want it. All right, cool, right? Let's try to run it again, and now you will see the proper answers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so clear till now, right?
Yeah.
So that would be the one case of this keyword, right? So so this keyword will, okay, so now you are aware of this keyword, right? But this keyword is not just this, I mean cannot be used in this way only. This keyword will also be used with the constructor, this keyword basic. And instead of doing the basic, let's make the, okay, let's rename this to variables. All right. And then this keyword can be used with methods also. And all right, we will do this keyword with the methods in the later part. We don't have to do it, but let's see. And then with constructors. All right, so this is the thing where we have to use. All right. So with the methods, right? So with the methods, okay, can we take the same example of variable? Okay, all right, let's create a new one. Not going to take a lot of time. So over here, let's take a normal class now A, right? Because we want to use it with the methods. So let's add public void m1, right? Sys out. All right, so a hyphen m1, cool. And then there would be another thing, public void m2, cool. Sys out a hyphen m2, cool. All right, so this is the one thing. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an object of a and then call m1, right? So this is simple thing, m1 will be printed, right? And I can call m2 from here, right? So now m1 and m2 both will be printed, cool. So this, which method is this? Instance method, right? And this points to the instance area. So I can write this as well. This will say please find a method in the instance area with the name m2. I can write it in this way also. Not recommended, but you can do it, right? If you find some question where this has been used with a method associated with a method, don't write compile time error, cool. This is an interview question also, but I haven't written it in the interview question part because. All right. Cool. So next thing will be with the constructors, right? So now the constructor working with the constructor would be great, right? Because how are you going to call it? Okay, it's basically used in a chaining part. Okay. So this is a method chaining, right? This is a method chaining. I'm creating a chain of methods, right? We have covered it in the method chaining. So we have to see the constructor chaining as well, right? So that's why A, right? I have A. So another thing, main, okay, not main, right? Public void m1, cool. Sys out and A hyphen m1, great. Now I would have a runner psvm and then A equals to new A, cool. Now what do I want? I want to call, okay. Constructor will be called on its own, right? Don't need to call anything. So it's, oh my bad, I have to create a constructor, not, all right. Okay, so public A empty A hyphen constructor, right? And over here it will be default, cool. Let's run it again and then you will find a constructor over here, cool. But I want, and there is another constructor, right? Public and A public A. And now over here, see, if I want to create a chain, now if I want to make a constructor chain, so what do I need to do? First thing, I cannot create different method names, right? Because in constructor it's not allowed to create a different method name. So the only option left with me is by creating, overloading the constructor, right? Otherwise there is no another way, right? So I'm taking int variable small case A and doing A and constructor, and over here I will write int just to make sure it's parameterized constructor. Okay, so how can I call this constructor, right? Do I, cause it's A only, right? A, and can I write A and 1, right? Will it work? The answer will be no, because we have just seen to call the constructor we need the new keyword, right? So what else can I use? Over here only this keyword is required, right? This keyword will provide the instance area, and in this way, and if I write int or just value A, right? Just value 1. Cool. Let's make it 10, because otherwise you might think that 1 is for true. So what I'm doing, I'm saying that this keyword is over here is working for a constructor, cool. So this keyword will make me come inside in this, right? If there is an overloaded constructor with int A and int B, sys out, let's just copy it and let's make it int and int, cool. So if I call this and then pass two values 10 and 20, then it will call this constructor, cool. So let's try it out. Visible?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the rule. Okay, and the exact example we are going to use in constructor chaining as well, cool. All right.
Abhishek, only in default constructor we can use call this, right?
No. Okay,
Anywhere you can
let's
call.
remove this. You can have it in this too only.
Acha, okay.
Okay, it's not like it will be called from default, right? Okay, now the interview question, and now I'm confused. Where should I use it? Should I use it in this or should I use it in this? The concept is of this keyword or constructor. Okay, all right. It would be more of a constructor rather than, okay, the concept would be of a constructor rather than this keyword itself, cool. So we are going to take it in the interview part of constructor only. All right. So great. So the first interview question for today, and it would be okay, we have one. Okay, yes, we have covered one thing. The first will be chaining, constructor chaining, right? We have already seen the example of constructor chaining, right? This thing that we have seen in the last part, it is a constructor chaining. So the question would be, I will just going to copy paste the example that we had, right? Copy paste, give me both classes, cool. So if I try to run it, what will happen? This thing will happen, right? Two parameter constructor, one parameter constructor, no arc constructor, right? This is the sequence, cool. So what I want to do is, let's suppose I will just do this, right? And let's take this thing later and then put it here. Right now what should happen? The A constructor should be printed first, right? Right? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. So what would be the output of this? Let me just make it a little better looking. Cool. Let me just do this thing also. Cool. Alright. So what if I remove this item, this this comment, then try to execute the code? What will be the output? Right now the output is line number 17, 2 arc, 1 arc, and 0 arc, right? Earlier it was this, right? You can check it over here as well, right? Earlier the code was this, the output. Now I have changed the code, right? I have changed one thing. Instead of calling the method of this a constructor first, calling the constructor a single argument constructor, one arc constructor, I have printed the value first, right? And then I'm calling the second arc constructor, and then I'm printing the line. All right, just 10 seconds, right? Okay, the answer is the code will not compile. The reason is this keyword should be the very first statement inside the constructor. That's what I was trying to judge, whether I should put it in the this keyword or the constructor. Cool. If you want to use the this keyword needs to be the first value, right? This and pass like 10. Cool. Understood? Understood? Hello?
Yeah, yeah.
Alright, cool. Okay. Chaining. Oh, okay. Oh, my bad. Have I changed the code of chaining? Okay, cool. Okay, no worries. Let's just remove this. And constructor, it was of chaining question. Cool, great. So over here I will just print it over here, right? So the example, okay, my bad, I need to remove this. Cool. Okay, great. So chaining interview question. Now if I try to run this, the output will be same, right? Because we have commented out this thing. Cool. Now another question, and now the another question would be do this in a constructor. All right. So same thing, class A, right? And then I will create a constructor, right? And now I'll create a runner. Cool. PSVM, same item, everything is same. A equals to new A, right? I'm calling a Noah constructor, and in Noah constructor I will print A and and A. Okay, A constructor, right? Constructor. One thing I would like you to know, that there is a method public void m1, right? And I can call m1 from here, right? This will be the case of recursion, right? Infinite recursion. Cool. Understandable till now?
Yeah.
All right. So can I make this infinite loop for a constructor? The answer would be no. I'm not taking a lot of things, otherwise the interview part will be way too longer, right? I'm not taking this example. Why it is not allowed? The simple case, this thing, the method have a purpose to solve a business logic. The constructor has a purpose to just initialize the instance variable. Why do I want my instance variable to be assigned again and again in a cycle? I don't want it, right? There should be a one time thing. Let I have passed one value, assign one value, initialize the variable with one value, and that's it, right? So we don't require a concept of recursion in constructor, right? Is it clear?
Yes.
All right. Anyone having any doubts, you can just tell in between, right? Unmute yourself and just make yourself right audible. All right, cool. So this is not allowed, right? Constructor recursion is not allowed. I'm not creating any other interview question for this, right? But this is one of it. All right, cool. So okay, so it was okay, two. Okay, right, great, right? So if I'll do this thing, this, and all right, let's remove this and just copy paste this and remove this and do int a, right? So over here it will be int, right? Great. So okay, cool, right? Self loop is not allowed, right? This dot a, right? And over here let's place 10, right? And a is a is not required, right? Because this will be the case for that. So right now if I try to run this, okay, let me check again. Sys out a constructor, right? Yeah, cool, great. So if I try to run this, what will be the output? In constructor and this constructor, right? What if now, what if I call, because self calling is not allowed, right? But what if I call the second constructor twice? Anyway, everyone, just 5 seconds.
That should be allowed because again, it is not calling itself.
Okay, the answer is no. And this answer you should be able to detect on your own. Why? Because we have seen, I don't know where, but we have seen that okay, default constructor, no chaining, right? In chaining we have seen the call to the this must be the first statement in the constructor, right? What you are saying is true. Self calling is not allowed, right? But another thing also that is not allowed, that is not allowed is this keyword should not be the second line, right? Because this keyword inside a constructor should be the first statement, right? And if I am calling it again and again, then this has become the second statement, right?
Yes, so the only possibility of using, I mean, you can use this keyword only once in a constructor.
Yes,
Okay.
that is the case. All right. So if I try to run it, also the compile time error, right? And the same thing you will see over here as well. The call to this would be the first value, right? Okay. I mean, some of you must have done something, right? You must have read something on your own as well. I mean, I'm just asking. I mean, you must have gone through some videos or some notes or something, because these are the basics, right? And everyone is getting confused. Cool. No worries. No worries. I mean, everyone never read about Java before. Anyone?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. I wanted to be aware of this, so I will stop asking question now. All right. I was taking an assumption that you all have at least some prior knowledge or have used at least the language before. All right. I wasn't aware of it. Cool. Everyone, for the very first time they are seeing Java. What is happening, right? Any affirmations?
Yeah, I mean, we've not used it extensively. So.
Okay, not extensively. Okay, cool. No worries. Okay, okay, cool. All right. So, do you want me to not ask questions and just go through with the flow? Would it be better? Okay, we will have some discussion. Let's stop the recording for a while. It was off for a while. Okay, all right. So now I need to cover a lot of stuffs again. So there will be okay, cool. So there will be, okay, so let's cover this thing first. Is it possible to use uh, to initialize the static variable with this keyword? Yes, because this keyword is not associated directly with the instance area, rather than in the with the object, right? And we will see later on, not in this class, how it usually works. We know that when I am trying to find it in the local variable, then it will try to find in the local area, right? This, if I remove this, then in the local area this age is present, right? So now if I don't use this, if I use the this keyword, if the value, if there is an instance variable, then it would have chosen that. If not, then it will go to the static area if the class contains anything in the static area. So that's how the flows goes. So that would be one thing. Another thing that we have already seen, but the recording was off, can we call a method from a constructor? Yes, it is possible to call a method from a constructor. We have already seen this thing, right? We just run it again. So over in the runner part, we can see we are only calling a constructor, and inside the constructor we are calling a method, and in the method it's right a, and then I'm printing the value, right? And the value of a is 0, because I'm not setting anything over here right now. So I cannot do age equals to age over here, right? Because if I try to do this, then I will be assigning the same local variable again the value. That's why I need to reference it to the object that I want to assign it with. So this dot age will go to the class object that it's working on, right? And now if I try to run it, now over here you will see that value 10, right? Okay, so which question was it? Okay, so this class initialize the static variable. Okay, cool. So the question, the interview question was, can we initialize the instance variable with this? And the answer would be yes, we can. Yes, but we never going to do it. We are going to see why we not going to do this in the later session, but it is possible, but not recommended. Cool, cause again the static context area is not associated with an object but rather than a class, right? That's why static context area can be accessed directly with the class reference and not with the object creation. So if something is working with the class and one thing is working with the object, so there is no relation between these two, right? So we should not initialize it. All right, next thing we will see why we should not do this in the later sessions when we create a class, right? Yes, we can initialize, but we won't, because it's not recommended and it does not make sense. Why it's not making sense, we will cover in the oops part. All right, so this thing also we have covered. All right, there was one more question, and let me try to remember. Okay, the constructor calling, the chaining we have done, the default constructor we have done. Yeah, okay, two constructor and static variables. All right. Let's go to the notes. I don't know why, but I'm thinking that there is one more question that has left. All right, so notes now, right? So default constructor inside the class, if we are not declaring at least one constructor, then and only then the compiler will generate zero argument constructor with the empty implementation at the time of compilation. That's why in the initial part of the session, when we see the .class file, that a .class file had a constructor, no constructor, while the .java class did not have anything, right? Again, the compiler generates such constructor, it's called default constructor, right? And inside the class, default constructor is in invisible mode. It was not visible, right, in the Java file, but it will be visible in the .class file. To check the default constructor provided by the compiler, okay, this thing we have done it already, right? Okay, so this is the same thing, right? So before compilation there is no constructor, right? After compilation there is a constructor in the .class file. Then user defined constructor, we can overload the constructor, right? That we have done already. Then inside a class, if we are declaring at least one constructor, either zero argument constructor, then compiler won't create any default constructor, right? And this thing we have also seen. Default constructor is zero argument constructor, but all zero argument constructor is not default constructor, right? This is just a thing of saying, right? Because default constructor is something that JVM will create on its own, but zero argument constructor is one thing that we create, right? So it's just a terminology playing thing. Okay, this thing we will see later on. And okay, this thing is just not required now. We will cover it in the oops part, or when we go with the creation of object. Okay, cool. A lazy object creation. Okay, cool. That does not, I mean, it's more of a, we are just declaring the variable and then initializing it directly, and over here we are just breaking it into two parts. That's it, nothing else. So no need to. Lazy and eager is more useful right now nowadays with the hibernate. Okay, so this thing is we can skip, and over here example. Okay, cool, we can initialize these values. And advantage of constructor, you should block during the object creation, right? I mean, all right, cool. One thing also, right? So the thing is, we constructor we use to initialize the instance variable, right? This would be the primary use case of constructor, right? But there is one more thing that we use, and we use it extensively with enums. We are not going to cover the enums in our course, but it is used. I mean, if I create a enum, so I mean inside the enum, I mean, okay, later on I will let you know, because a static block we are also going to use with the enums. Because the thing is, if I want to make some operations before creation an object, then I can do it inside the constructor also, right? So if I want to, over here, if I want to execute a block of Java code, right, only once during the object creation, then also I can call the constructor, right? That's why the method calls is also allowed in the constructor, because constructor will be called only once. That's why constructor to call, I can call it the constructor as well, right? Clear? This thing clear? I need some information.
Yes.
Alright.
Yes.
The primary use case is to initialize the instance variable, but if we have something, right, I can do it a lot of stuff, right? Sysout, I can call a lot of sysout as well. And if I want to make our code modular, then I can convert into different methods as well, right? So this is the thing with the constructor, and this is why it is used. There are different use cases of this as well that we primarily use in the class construction that we will see in the later sessions. Okay. This thing not required. Okay, this dot need declare pass different values to different objects. Inside the class it focus is executed in the object created, but with the initial values of the variable only printed or complementation in the class. Multiple object. Okay, not required. I mean, basic item, you can go through it on your own. Okay. I mean, the one thing is, we have the setter and getters as well, right, to initialize the variables, right? So that's the only difference. We can create a method also, right? Similar method also we can write. This is a constructor, and we can do the same thing with the method also, right? But why the constructor thing is better, right? And when to go with the constructor thing, that all we will see in the later sessions. All right, premium. Okay, this thing is simple. This thing again, the same constructor calling, right? We have already done it in the last session. Okay, this keyword use. Okay, inside the constructor, this keyword must be the first statement. Covered. Constructor calling must be the first statement. Okay, must be first statement which are able to call only one constructor at a time, right? Not possible to call more than one constructor in a constructor. The reason is simple, because this keyword requires to be the first statement, right? Okay, then now these are the differences between the method and constructor, right? So methods are used to write the logics, right? These logic will be executed when the method is called. Constructor is written when the object is created, right? Variable initialization in the method, we can do it, right? When we call the method, then it will happen. During the object creation, if you want to initialize something or execute something, then we'll go with the constructors, right? Return type is required in Java, right? For methods, return type is mandatory. If you not want to return anything, you need to mention void, right? But with constructor, you cannot write any return type. It's not allowed, right? Right or not? Okay, you haven't done with the end. Okay, cool. So if this is a constructor, right? If I try to write int over here, and if I'll return 10, now what will happen? Will it return 10 when I call this a equals to a? I mean, these are all questions which we usually do with when we want to confuse someone, right? These are all these things. But you are at the initial part phase of it, so we can even I mean, it will be confusing for you as well, right? You're learning everything. So over here, all right, int a is there, right, already. And okay, this thing is initialize a value. All right, give me just 1 minute. All right, let's start again. So what we have over here? Okay, initialize the static variable, right? Okay, let's not make this let's not change this and write my string variable.
Abhishek, you are on mute.
Oh, thank you to let me know. All right. Okay, so let's leave this example as it is, and let's make another package. Return type of constructor. Cool. So if I'll create a class A, right, and public and A, right, this is, and this is out, A is called. Great. This thing we have already done, right? In the runner part, if I'll just do this thing and a equals to new a, and then oh, that's it, right? Cool. We have some value, right? And a also, right? So for a, let's say, all right, let's not say anything, and just simply if I want to return, let's say 10, and I put int over here, right? So isn't it possible to, I mean, isn't I just added a return type to a constructor, isn't it? Anyone?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
This is a damn method. This is a method. We have a return type with just name is the same name, class, like class A. It is a method, not a class. And this would be the default constructor that will be executing. See, nothing, right? It haven't printed this thing, right? A. And now if I'll do a dot m1, then what will happen? Okay, my bad, a dot a, right? And if I try to call it, now you will get a, right? Without this, it's not. So in the first session, I don't know why it's written over here. Right, I need to go through it again. No, okay, just wait, and then let's move. Okay, in where is the table, right? So constructors, it is all valid to return types. Okay, so I don't know why I have written it's not allowed, right? I think I have forgot to add the not. Okay, so so I haven't shared it, right? I'll try to edit it, then we'll share it with you, right? The only difference is it's the rest of the part. So what have we done? Okay, we have just gone through the notes, right? Then
Yes,
we are
yes.
done. Okay, the notes will be completely broken this time. Okay, so who has not taken the sessions might find it hard. All right, so the last part that we are going through, this thing only, right? So we have found out already that in the notes this thing is written is wrong, right? It is not allowed, not is missing. All right, then the name should be the same, right? The last example that we have seen. All right, let's cover that as well. There might be a chance it's not in the video. So the thing is, this is not a constructor, this is a method, right? So if I try to call the constructor, then nothing will be printed, because the thing is default constructor will be there for this, right? Java will create a default constructor, and this a is a method name. So if I try to call it like a method using the reference variable, now it will be printed, right? This would be the one case. Constructors cannot have a return type, one thing. Now again back to the notes. So over here we have seen the methods names requires to be it to be a camel case, right? And it's not mandatory, right? We can write it in any way, because we have seen that the example that we have just seen a while ago, this is not a camel case, right? Camel case says the first word in entirely should be lowercase, right? So it is not mandatory, but we write in this way. This is the coding convention. So that's the coding convention is written over here. But the thing with this class name and the constructor name will be same, right? Is this mandatory? Can, if I want to create a constructor, right? This is a constructor, right? Can I make it B? No, right? This is mandatory. Your name needs to be same as of your class, right? So can I create a constructor with a smaller case? The answer would be no, right? Again, this will be, you need to add void over, and then it will be treated as a method, right? Exactly same. If you want to create a constructor, the name of the constructor needs to be exactly same as of the class. Cool. So this is just coding convention, right? Method name starts with lowercase and this camel case thing, and this thing is mandatory, right, in Java. Now there are two types of methods, instance and static, and the constructor are of two type, default and user defined, right? And zero arg constructor and default constructor difference is, if compiler generates on its own, then it's default. If you have created it, then it will be the zero arg. Hi, I'm audible?
Okay. Yes, yes.
Okay, I ran out of my battery. Cool, no worries. 1% now. All right, recording is on, I guess. Yes, it's on. Cool. So, okay, we were covering the notes, right? So, all right. So, how many times I can call a method? Multiple times, right? There is no bar. I can call it infinite times until I run out of stack and stack overflow happens, right? But constructor call, we can only call constructor once, right, at a time. Then this keyword should be the very first statement, right, inside a constructor, and we can use only it one time because it needs to be the first, right? If I use another also, then it will be the second statement. Next, to call a method, we can use this also, right, to call it, but does not matter. We can directly call it as well. Then super, we will see in the super sessions, not associated with this constructor class. And overloading is possible with both, right? Exactly same concept will be written, and the compiler generate, the answer will replicate, right? Because methods compiler don't generate, but it generates, right? And we will see when we cover the inheritance that the super keyword will also be generated by its own. We will see in the later sessions when we cover the inheritance. Cool. And that's it. Constructor chaining we have already covered. So we end our session here.